Championships from the Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto here. USA against Australia. That's the starting lineup for the US. Larry Johnson, Steve Smith, Derrick Coleman, Joe Dumars and Mark Price. USA, of course, winners of their group comfortably, beating Spain by 15 points and Brazil by 33 and China by 55. Australia going in with Ronaldson, Laugh, Brad Heel and Gaze. Roy Birch alongside me. Roy, it's going to be mighty tough for the Australians. They've done well in past World Championships. They haven't done themselves an enormous amount of credit here so far. Beaten by 14 points by Croatia, beating South Korea and Cuba. It's going to be mighty tough.
Yes, Simon, Australia's problem is that they don't actually get too much competition in their part of the world. They easily win every time they play in the Oceanic group. They have New Zealand and Western Samoa in there. And the only competition they get is from touring American teams and from going around the world looking for opposition. And when suddenly in their most important game for a couple of years since the Olympics, they come up against the Dream Team 2, they really do have to change their style dramatically.
USA winners of these championships in 1986 in Spain and also one in 1954. Surprisingly, still looking for their third win. They've come pretty close, but of course, red-hot favorites to win here in Canada. So getting ready for the tip-off of what should be an intriguing match. And of course, our first chance here on Eurosport to catch the Australian team. You've been watching with Roy throughout last week and the early part of this week, the USA, and mighty impressive they've been.
Yeah, it's a very good performance in the first game from Spain, but that was really the US feeling their way into this competition. And Coach Don Nelson said, well, that gave them a wake-up call. And they needed a good game like that. And since they played China and Brazil, well, a different team entirely.
Good defense under the basket from the Australians. Gaze to Heel. And a good deal of motion. And a good through pass there. And Brad it is who finishes off. Initially didn't want to play in these World Championships, Bradkey, but was persuaded to change his mind, and mighty glad he did. Joe Dumars. And they've got plenty of outside threats.
Yeah, Dumars and Mark Price from three-point range. And, of course, Dan Marley can come in there as well. Dan Marley scored 192 three-pointers in the last season in the NBA. So what an outside threat. And when you think that Shaquille O'Neal is in there as well, to gather any rubbish, then that is an all-round team effort potential from the United States.
Gaze. So they more or less would like the match to stop right here. USA just a little bit sluggish early on, but you can expect that to change fairly dramatically as the half wears on. So the Australians have made a good start here. Tony Ronaldson, 4-point lead. Dumars again. But it's a good start from the Australians.
Very good start. And when you consider that they're really one player short, that's Luke Longley, who is absent from this on family matters. His wife's just given birth to a baby. Then put Luke Longley in there, and that's a different team entirely. However, you can only play with what you've got. So good start, but well, better things to come from the US, I have no doubt.
Not the best of timing, have parental duties when the World Championships are going on. You'd have thought better of that a few months ago.
Yeah, inconsiderate to say the least.
Derrick Coleman bursting through, getting the foul. Originally from Syracuse in New Jersey, #1 draft pick this year. Pretty impressive. Reduces the arrears to 2 points. Minute and a half gone. First half of this second phase match. Australia have been pretty consistent in World Championships in recent times, 7th in the last Worlds in Argentina. They've been as high as 5th. Shane Heel. The shot's just missing now. Johnson bringing it down.
Yeah, I know the Australians will have been desperately disappointed with their 6th place in the last Olympics in Barcelona as well. And many people think what they're actually doing with the system in Australia, what they're doing is actually building for the year 2000, when obviously the Olympic Games will be in Australia. And I think we can expect to see Coach Barry Barnes using a lot of players, giving them experience throughout this tournament now. He knows he's not going to win the gold medal, but a medal perhaps, but he's more interested in experience for the 2000 Games.
Oh, nice move. Smith into Coleman. And it's level with 2.5 gone first half. Heel to Brádky. And the Aussies in front once more.
Well, you've got to give it to these Aussies, Simon. They won't lie down. They're not going to concede. And they've actually, at 6-2, that was the biggest lead the Americans have had against them in this tournament. And now the Aussies lead again with a bonus to come.
Alan Smith. And a wonderful quick break finished off by Larry Johnson. Heel once more, the playmaker goes on his own. Johnson. Coleman way off that time.
And this is the 4th different starting 5 that Coach Don Nelson has used. So he's got 12 real quality players at his disposal. And, well, he's experimenting every game.
There's the quick break. Wonderful move. That's the highlight so far. Finished off by the dunk from Larry Johnson. But the other end, Mark Brádky, making his move and showing just how important he is to the Australian lineup. He gives them a lot of power, Roy.
Yeah, Bradke's a good player, and they were desperately disappointed when he made himself unavailable initially. And if the Aussies had not had Brádky, and with the absence of Longley as well, then, well, that would have taken out an awful lot of size for the Aussies. But Coach Barnes, very, very grateful that Brádky changed his mind in the end.
So, 3.5 gone. It's Australia by 2. A turnover means it should be 4. Nice move. Great behind the back from Heel to set it up. So the Australians now lead by 4. It's not going for them.
It isn't, and I think the crowd are responding as well. And that's such a pity that the Aussies took an off-balance shot there, but now it's 14-8 to Australia. Wow, wow, wow.
Andrew Blahev it was who finished that off. So 4 minutes gone. And the Australians, would you believe it, lead by 6. The Americans have been slow starters before, but never quite as slow as this. Larry Johnson. And Johnson's almost a one-man offense for USA at the moment. But still it won't stop. 3 for Shane Heel. And this is a wonderful start for Australia.
Thinking back to Barcelona, Simon, in that final, the USA against Croatia, Coach Chuck Daly was actually forced to call a timeout in the first half when Croatia took the lead. And I just saw Coach Don Nelson look towards the bench, and he's actually considered taking a timeout. He trails by 7 at the moment at 17-10.
Andrew Gaze it was who got the steal, takes the behind the back from Heel, and Gaze it is who finishes it off. And he and Heel working particularly well. So there's the situation. 4.5 gone. Australia, would you believe it, lead by 7. Steve Smith.
Unfortunate position for Steve Smith here. It's the first real court time he's got. He's had a minute or so in the previous games, but Now he's started, and the US have made their worst start, but Mark Price there with a 2. It's 17-12.
Bragke working hard inside, and it's going to be a jump ball. Still no sign of Shaquille O'Neal being held back at the moment. But you can bet your life if this kind of situation lasts for much longer, Nelson's going to put him in. Effort in from Tony Ronaldson. Dumars. That's more like it. 3 for Steve Smith. So the lead now suddenly from 7 goes down to 2. Shane Heal. But back it goes. 3 more for Australia.
Yeah, I think Steve Smith's actually got something to prove here. He didn't look too happy at not getting much court time in those first 3 games, and that 3 will have really given him a big lift. Mind you, the Aussies can shoot from 3 as well.
Dumars to Coleman. Nice little fade away there. Heal into Bragke. He does it over the top of Coleman, I think it was.
Yeah, the whole defense suddenly stopped there, thinking that was a travel, but he kept his pivot foot down very, very well.
And Johnson once more. So it's offense on top at both ends of the court at the moment. Pat Reedy coming in, number 7 from the North Melbourne club. 3 points down, USA at the moment. And not one of Gaze's better efforts, but Reedy it is with his first touch, who gets the 2.
And when you consider this superb effort from Australia, they lead by 5 at the moment, and we've not really seen any scoring threat from their top scorer Andrew Gaze yet. He's averaging about 27 points a game in the first 3 games, and now the introduction of the man you were talking about, Simon. The crowd love it now. Shaquille O'Neal on court for the first time tonight.
Well, they certainly need an injection, particularly on defense. Well, suddenly a 3-pointer from way downtown from Price, and it's back to 2. His heel.
That 3 from Price was just what the Australians didn't want, because with Shaquille in there, the Aussies know they have to go out to stop Price's threat, and that leaves a lot of space inside for Shaquille O'Neal. So perhaps a turning point in the game. You never know. Good coaching there from Coach Don Nelson. Saw the situation, read it perfectly, and there's Shaquille O'Neal taking his first rebound.
Dumars. Johnson, so busy. And you can see the impetus is beginning to warm up now for the USA. They started slow, a little bit casual.
And the Australian Andrew Vlahov here, number 14, really does have his hands full with Larry Johnson. Really struggling to deny that ball into the low post, and Johnson is so big and so awkward. Vlahov had no chance there, and that ties the scores with Shaquille O'Neal.
His first points. So 24 apiece. And the USA have taken 7.5 minutes to get back on level terms. Of course, the danger for the USA is that they've had consistently easy matches all the way through, just like Dream Team 1 have. If they do get pushed, they don't know what it's like to be in a competitive match, but no one's got them that close. And at the moment, Australia have caught them hopping.
You're dead right there, Simon, but I honestly believe that that close game they had against Spain when they won 115-100, and a superb performance from Spain it was. I think that was very well summed up by Coach Don Nelson. He said that was a wake-up call. They now know that the rest of the world, there are no pushovers around anymore, so even though the US are winning their games by 20 or 30 or even more, they know they have to work for it, and that's a lead for the US, and that's the first lead they've had.
Right, it was the lead 3, ticking down to 8 minutes gone in the first half. So the USA 75% from the free-throw line, from the three-point area. Beg your pardon. Australia beginning now to suffer from their three-point throwing. Third foul on Steve Smith.
Well, Smith certainly made his mark, having started for the first time, but unfortunately in the wrong way. He's got his third foul. And the Aussies have gone to their veteran Phil Smythe, the bald-headed Phil Smythe, been around in the national team since 1980 and a great servant for Australia, and perhaps looking for a little bit of his canniness now.
Brad so quick for a big man, and Shaquille forces him to travel. And that's the threat that he has, O'Neal. Even when he's not on the ball, he forces mistakes out of the opposition. And here's his first points of the match, the other end. So the USA have really been struggling so far, but at the moment they look to be getting their act together. They lead by 3. Huge match in the World Basketball Championships in Toronto. This a W pool match. In the W pool, USA, Australia, Russia and Puerto Rico. In Group X, Croatia, Greece, China and Canada. We'll work out the top 8 positions. The top 2 from each group go through to the semi-final. It's USA by 3. Here's Smythe. And it's more and more difficult to get it inside now. Brady with O'Neal in front of him. In the end, forced to shoot from outside. And that's Vlahev leveling it up. And they get possession as well.
Yeah, if the Australians are going to stay anywhere near the US in this game, they've got to drill a lot more threes like that last one. Coach Don Nelson for the US has just put Shawn Kemp in there. That's a bit more size, and he's still got more size on the bench as well. And they just keep coming at you. Big men. And if your outside shooting isn't on, then there's no way you're going to get a rebound with Shawn Kemp and Shaquille O'Neal in there.
Good move inside from Andrew Gaze. Certainly a pumped up side, the Aussies. So you saw just Kemp just reach out there. And in comes Kevin Johnson. Man who replaced the injured Isaiah Thomas. But it's Gaze at the line. And isn't that impressive? Just one missed out of 29 now. And the Aussies looking good once more, leading by 2 as we approach the midway point in this first half. A very impressive performance indeed. Kemp, O'Neal not reading it for once. And that's been a little bit of the story in this opening phase.
Just looking back to that statistic, Simon, about Andrew Gaze, 1 foul shot missed out of 29 or 30. That's why he was the 4th top scorer in the World Championships in 1990. And really, his offense has held these Australians together for years now.
What about that rejection there? Very quick hands from Shaquille O'Neal, who draws the foul the other end.
That is what you might call an all-round athlete. He blocks a shot at one end and then hustles down the court and takes the last shot, takes the shot at the other end. Look at this now, hustling down the court, and he's fouled as well. And I suppose the only thing a coach could complain about in that situation, Simon, is he didn't score and get a bonus. But what a hustle down the floor from a big man.
Nearly worth his $15 million a year contract. And they are 53 points against Minnesota. And he's up to 4 here. But still, at that midway point in the first half, Australia tied up with the USA, and that is a magnificent achievement. Can they keep it going? Blahev missing out. Kevin Johnson to Larry Johnson. And you can sense the urgency now. A lot more quickness about the Americans in the end. Joe Dumars it is from long range. And the USA back in front. Smythe.
Most people tend to watch the Americans for their offense, but their defense is so inspiring as well. The boxing out there, no Australian could get anywhere near it. But look at that, an interception there from the veteran on the Aussie team, Phil Smythe. And what a pity again. He took a quick shot and another interception.
That's really casual, and they should be making more of this. Pat Reedy missing out there. 2 easy chances. But in the end, they tied up, but that's very casual play. And Don Nelson will be worried about that. Gaze it is who ties it up. And that really is sleep time for the USA. They've got to wake up from this, otherwise they might be in for a rude shot. Shaquille O'Neal puts them in front, but they do not look the business at the moment.
And you've got to give it to the Aussies. They got 4 offensive rebounds then, and eventually they scored off the last one.
And another interception. This is very shoddy stuff. Well, that's frustrating. Gaze just letting it slip out of his fingers.
And Barry Barnes just handing the referee the ball there and just indicating that possibly it might need a little bit of a wipe. Perhaps that's why the ball's being given away so many times. A little bit of perspiration on it.
Number 11, Reggie Miller.
So Reggie Miller, the co-captain, along with Joe Dumars in.
Offensive foul being called against Shawn Kemp, trying to establish position in that low post and doing so with excessive use of the elbows. Offensive foul.
But this is a worrying time now for the US. The most worrying time they've had, as you said. They were pushed pretty close by Spain. Everything's relative, of course. Spain getting within 15 points. But this might be a very rude shock indeed.
Yeah, you tend to wonder just what would they be like in a down to the wire type game. We've not seen them in one yet, and well, the possibilities are that we may never see them in a wire game, but who knows? What would they be like? These experienced players of the NBA, they know what close games are like in the NBA, but not in international ball. Never been in one, so who knows?
He's doing anything he can to stop Reggie Miller there. So there's the situation then. Just under 8 minutes left in the first half. USA on top, but by 2.
The other thing that could be possibly worrying for Coach Don Nelson here, Simon, is that the Australians are close, and the Australians lost by 14 or so to Croatia. And waiting in the wings, possibly in the final, or probably even in the final, Croatia with Tony Kukoc, Dino Raja, Stojan Vrankovic, Komazek. Well, who knows?
There's a real casualness about them, isn't there? I mean, they know they're a class above Australia and practically every other team, perhaps except Croatia, that you wouldn't see this kind of performance against Croatia. But it's not just that they're slow, they're making mistakes, the brain just doesn't seem to be ticking.
That's right, there's a lot of pressure on these young players from the NBA, and remember, they are the dream team too. And a lot of people have said, well, they're nowhere near as good as Dream Team 1, the likes of Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, etc. But there's a lot of pressure on them to show that they are possibly as good as their predecessors, if not better. And I think that's really why we're seeing a lot of turnovers, a lot of silly mistakes. And remember, they are a lot younger than Dream Team 2. A lot of media pressure on these young guys out there.
Fair amount of control being shown out there.
You know, Simon, I think looking back to one of the McDonald's Open, I think that young lady actually had 11 balls spinning at one time.
Really. There's Gaze, 8 points so far, 2 rebounds. And he's been pretty impressive. Top scorer in Australia for the last few years with that kind of move.
And the Gaze family, great servants to Australian basketball. Lindsay Gaze, former coach, and Andrew Gaze, easily the top scorer over the last few years for the Boomers.
Reggie Miller, all-time leading scorer at the Indiana Pacers. He looks very casual indeed. There's a concerned look now, though, about the American bench. They lead by 4. Smythe. The long-range shot now is beginning not to work for them, but work against them. Dumars puts it in for a 6-point lead now.
Yeah, one of the often used expressions in basketball, if you live by the outside shot, then, well, you can die by it. And at the moment, the Australians, that's all they seem to have. And if it's not going in, then it's virtually a guaranteed rebound and possibly a fast break for the Dream Team too.
But to be fair to them, there's very little other option, is there? They're not going to get it inside against these guys.
That's right. With Luke Longley not inside, then really they have very, very limited options indeed. And really, it's Brad-Key at 6'10", their only real chance of getting the ball inside.
Pat Reedy. So the USA lead 5. 7 minutes left, first half. Foul called against Tony Ronaldson. No, in fact, it's against Keogh. So the USA in the bonus situation, it'll be 1-1. Not for much longer, though. From September the 1st, I think it is, there's a new rule, no 1-on-1, just the 2 shots.
That's right, Simon. There was a lot of speculation about these championships, actually, because the World Congress, look at that 3-pointer there. That's got Australia back in the game. 37-35 now.
2-point ball game.
There was a World Congress held in Toronto before these championships, and the speculation was to whether they would be playing the new rules in this tournament or not, but we will actually start the new rules on September the 1st.
Seems a shame to me. I was never a big fan of the 1-on-1 at the end.
That's right, it's been made a 2-shot situation now. Try and stop teams deliberately fouling.
No hustle at all from the Americans there, and Pat Reedy it is who picks up the loose ball. And that's what's happening time and time again. If only their shooting was a little more on, they could well be in front here. 2 more for Shawn Kemp. USA by 4. Gaze. Warner missing out. Kevin Johnson all the way. And the crowd beginning to take to the Americans now as they see a little bit more urgency, certainly in offense, some more imaginative moves, but in defense it's not been a pretty sight.
In all 3 of their pool games, Simon, the Americans turned the defensive screw in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the first half. Remember, they ran in 12 unanswered points in the last 62 seconds against China. So, well, perhaps they have a little bit of gas in reserve in the tank, and who knows, towards the end of this first half, well, they might just step up a gear or 2.
Here's that all-the-way move from Johnson. And that wonderful acceleration. at the end there. Kemp, yeah, nice move in, and Kemp destroys them. And on offense now, they really are looking the part.
The pass inside then made the job of dunking the ball so easy for Shawn Kemp. It was a pass away from the defender, and it was Dan Marley who put it in there.
Yes, Marley new on number 9. Meanwhile, it's Johnson. And he's looking good at the moment, Kevin Johnson. And the lead for the first time is 10. 4.5 minutes left in the first half. USA now living up to their billing for the first time in this match.
Well, all credit to the Australians. They're not playing the same type of game that the Brazilians played against the Americans, running the shot clock down every single offense. They're playing their own game. They fully expect to lose here, but at least they're trying to learn from the experience, not just running the clock down and boring the crowd into a sleep situation.
It's got to be a jump ball here. Seem to go on forever.
Australia's substitution.
Nelson
Number 6.
looks a little aggrieved, but I think the pressure is beginning to ease now, as certainly on offense they start to play it around.
Timeout, Australia.
4 minutes 15 left in this first half. Kevin Johnson. Now it goes to Marley. And a surprising miss. Keogh. Yes.
3 for Keogh.
So the lead back to 7.
Yeah, all that came from a poor shot from Dan Marley then. He's not had a particularly good tournament either, just like Steve Smith. Had an awful lot of court time, and well, perhaps a little bit rusty there. That bad shot along the baseline led to a good 3 for Australia. Look at that behind the back dribble there from Kevin Johnson, and the slam from Shawn Kemp. That's how to follow up a rebound.
And Shaquille right behind him, just in case he didn't take advantage, and there's a big rebound. And a foul by Brad-Kit. Here's the super move from Johnson, moving inside, and look at them come in like predators. And Kemp it was who got the first touch.
So we've got 1-on-1, and some of the people that we tend not to think too much about in these World Championships, the referees. These two here, an unenviable task, because just about everybody knows the result, or should know the result before the opening tap even. They know who's going to win, or that's the assumption we make anyway. But these two guys out here doing a really good job, and they're helping the players as well. Talking to them and not calling any tippy-tappy fouls, and that's all the players can ask of any referee. If you don't notice the referees, they're doing a good job.
Of course, the rules stay the same all around the world, or more or less the same, but there are various interpretations of the rules in different parts of the world. Australia and the USA don't get to meet, and therefore the different interpretation can hurt one or two of the sides.
That's right, and really that's what the World Congress of FIBA have tried to do with the rule changes. They are gradually bringing the rules back to parity. 15 years ago, there was such a vast difference between the rules of the NBA and the international game. And ever so slowly, the two governing bodies, the NBA and FIBA, are bringing the rules closer and closer. And we're pretty close now. There are just 1 or 2 differences. For instance, the size of the court. For instance, the size of the 3-second area. The number of fouls, the length of time plays. But the main points of the game are very, very similar in both codes now.
Do you think we'll see 4 quarters?
I think we will actually, Simon, very soon. There is an option already. You can play, the international rules now say you can play either 4 12s in your particular countries or 2 20s. It's your choice.
Australia continuing their very fine effort in this first half. Keogh. And the foul called, defensive foul against Reggie Miller.
Foul number 10, Reggie Miller is first. In the bonus.
What a competitor, Reggie Miller, and just a suspicion of a right elbow there to help Miller on his way. That's why he was angry at the call.
Just the simple things going wrong now. Easy shots being missed, free throws being missed, and they're having to pay for it. Again, it's the man for me. Kevin Johnson's been the man of the first half.
Yeah, you could describe that foul shot miss there as a 4-point play, because the Australians could have had 2 from the line, and instead of which the Americans got a fast break. So instead of getting 2, you got 2 against you.
Lead 13 now, the biggest it's been. Here's Gaze. It's the time left on the shot clock here. And a foul that time, I think, against Shawn Kemp. Not delirious about the decision.
Number 7, Shawn Kemp, his third.
It was the change of direction, really, from Kevin Johnson. He just threw the defender slightly one way, and the whole 3-second area just opened up. Now, let's see again if the Australians, if history repeats itself, if this foul shot is missed, mind you, it is that man Gaze on the line, so he's unlikely to miss.
He just doesn't miss. And Dominique Wilkins on. So the lead 11, 2.5 left in this first half. And the Australians just got to keep it going. Just drop their form a fraction, and the Americans have taken advantage, and Vlaev jumping all over Reggie Miller.
As the saying goes there, even the popcorn seller took that fake. That fake from Reggie Miller was superb. Everybody in the arena was convinced he was going to shoot. Here we go, the fake. The man goes up, and Reggie Miller just steps underneath him. Great fake there from the Indiana man, former Indiana man.
Here's Wilkins. There you can see 9th in the all-time list in the NBA.
I'm sorry, I've just transferred Reggie Miller. I said the former Indiana man, I meant the former UCLA man. 2 heartbeats missed there at the Pacers.
And Miller taking advantage. And rhythm starting to return.
Tell you what, Simon, Reggie Miller wasn't aware of one of the differences between FIBA and the NBA then. He took an awful long time over that second foul shot. In the NBA, you're allowed 10 seconds. International stuff is only 5 seconds. I reckon that was about 6.5, possibly 7 seconds then.
Gaze, yes. And Gaze is helping keep the match reasonably close for Australia. The danger they could be blown away here in this crucial stage at the end of the first half. Majerle making the move. First foul against the newcomer Paul Reese.
Well, the referee could have chosen any particular bit of contact there to call a foul. Alonzo Mourning was being bundled over in the low post position, and well, the foul eventually given against Reese, fouling Dan Majerle.
Majerle, one of the US Olympic team in 1988 in Seoul. And that amazing record last year of 192 three-pointers.
Of course, Majerle won't want to be reminded of the fact that the US lost in Seoul. They only won the bronze medal. They lost to the Soviet Union, and that a big disappointment in US Olympic history.
That's a good move inside. Gaze trying to go for the 2 and the bonus. But that was as sweet a move as they've had on offense. It's mighty difficult inside to create something, but they very nearly did here. Good ball through from Damian Keogh into Gaze. He never looks like missing, does he?
Such a study in concentration. I'm not confident enough to put my mortgage on his foul shooting, but well, possibly.
So they've done well. Under 1.5 minutes, they're back within 10 points. And that famed run at the end of a half Alonzo Mourning on. Hasn't materialised so far. Let's see if they can really step it up in this last minute of the first half. Alonzo Mourning from Charlotte, originally from Georgetown. Oh, nice move. Gaze again it was.
Foul number 14, Alonzo Mourning.
Foul on Mourning, but a sweet move from Gaze.
I think Alonzo Mourning there more annoyed with the fact that the US gave the ball away, or rather didn't get the loose ball. No question about the foul. The foul was actually the left hand. He probably got the ball cleanly, but the left hand moved the Australian player's hip.
Paul Rees it is to the line from North Melbourne. 2 meters 5, around 6'9". But Mourning gets the second of the free throws. Ticking down in the last minute. And a lovely move inside. Dominique Wilkins it is who finishes it off.
Yeah, there are three players in the American team, Wilkins, Smith and Marley, who've not really had an awful lot of court time. So 34-year-old Dominique Wilkins, perhaps with a point to prove here.
Brady left by Mourning, who does well to claim him back. And again, Miller on the run. It's a wonderful sight.
Bad miss there from Brady. He went for the dunk when a layup would have sufficed and gave Reggie Miller the break at the other end. So again, missing 2 points with the possibility of Reggie Miller scoring 2. Here's the replay. Went for the dunk and, well, as good as an outlet pass to Reggie Miller, that's.
So 100% from the line. And as you say, he's taking some time. That must have been over 5 seconds. "14 points now, the longest lead that they've had inside this last minute."
Yeah, what's happening is Don Nelson, I think he wanted a timeout after the foul shot, which you can't have in international balls. Coach Don Nelson just needed reminding that we're not playing in the NBA there. Still can't understand what's going on, Don Nelson. I think he asked for a timeout and wasn't granted one.
So, moving down towards the last 10 seconds here. This will probably be the last offense. Smythe taking his time, running the clock down. How they're going to get a shot out? It's going to be from outside. It's going to have to be. And it was rather hopeful. Big rebound there. I think it was Mourning. And the USA go in at the half, leading by 14. Mourning it was indeed. 48 then, as we go into the second half of this opening second phase match for these two teams. USA qualified from Group A as, of course, the winners. Australia runner-up to Croatia in Group B. And straight away it's Gaze. But Mourning in defense to good effect. Miller. 3 more for Reggie Miller. He's into double figures now. He goes up to 11. And the lead 17, biggest it's been. And I wonder if they've been given a bit of a dressing down, the USA, by Don Nelson at halftime. Wouldn't surprise me. Ronaldson initially, in the end Brady.
The Australians now have to be content. I think when they're 15 points down, even early stages of the second half, they have to be content with getting something out of the game. They've got to either go out there and just purely and simply enjoy themselves, which most teams do against the Americans, or they've got to learn something from it, learn from pressure situations like this. They're taking 4 shots to score at the moment.
2 more for Miller. He's up to 13. And he's had a hot start to the second half.
And one thing the Australians have not got to forget is that they can still win a medal in these championships. They can go for silver or bronze.
Their second place in this qualification will put them through to the semis. Well, they'll probably take on Croatia.
Well, just thinking about what I said, Simon, they believe it or not, losing this game, they could still win the gold medal. Highly unlikely, but they should really have the silver or the bronze in their sights.
Shane Heel from outside. And Miller now is such a devastating force. Whenever he touches the ball, you have to foul him to stop him. And Heel it was there. His 3rd personal.
Again, the change of direction was what fooled the Australian player. That's why the foul was committed. Reggie Miller faked to go left and dribbled right and caused the foul.
Miller and Johnson looking outstanding through the first half and the start of this second. No O'Neal at the start of the second, but they're doing pretty well without him. And there's Dan Marley showing why he's such a threat from outside that 3-point line.
Scored 8 threes in one game in the NBA this year, Simon, and 192 in the season.
The lead up to 20. And it's red alert now for Australia, because the USA could really start to showboat if they get a little bit more in the clear. Gaze again. He's got such composure.
And that too came then from Dominique Wilkins disobeying one of the basic rules of basketball, dribble with a hand away from the defense. He dribbled with the wrong hand and lost the ball. That's why Australia got 2.
Even the superstars can do it. Rebound from Brad Kitt. Gaze. Johnson picking it up. Brad with a rebound. Gaze once more, but nothing on.
You know, Simon, one thing that's missing from this game, but both teams are playing a very relaxed type of game. There's no tenseness out there at all. I think the result is foregone now, but everybody enjoying themselves, not complaining too much about any fouls, and there's not actually an awful lot of defense being played out there.
Dominique Wilkins is first.
Morrison with the jumper.
USA substitution for
Dumars is in.
Well, the irony of that call is that the Australians were called for a 5-second violation on an inbounds pass. And when you think of how long Reggie Miller takes on the foul line, there's the irony.
One more for the rich.
Yeah.
Heel. Brad making the move. And doing pretty well. Marley getting the foul against him.
Again, good refereeing. Marley just complained initially about the contact, and the Canadian referee said, "No, you got him." That's good repartee.
Barry Barnes, the chief Australian coach. Australia got here by beating South Korea by 2, beat Cuba by 6, and then one defeat at the hands of Croatia by 14 points.
Yeah, I think that South Korean result when they only won by 2, I think that was the Australians' wake-up call. Just as the US got one against Spain, I think Australia got one against South Korea.
Marley feeding Johnson there, and the lead back up to 18. Gaze. And off the ball foul. Tony Ronaldson.
foul number 4, Tony Ronaldson is first. 13 foul.
What impresses me so much about this American defense, although the intensity isn't quite there today, it's a legacy of the illegal defense rule in the NBA. They are so tight on their man. We had a clear-out situation there, or an isolation play, but the defense was so tight that the Australian couldn't take advantage of it. The Americans within a meter of their man all the time.
Alonzo Mourning there, make it so simple as he drops the ball down.
Look at that defense, no help in the paint whatsoever, but Joe Dumars right down, got his knees bent, and super individual defense.
And that's what caused yet another turnover. So an official's timeout. Barry Barnes keeping the Australians going, but it's USA who lead by 20. Marley. Here's Miller. Off balance for most of that, but still gets the ball out. That'll be an American ball. Miller from outside. And three more. And the lead up to 23.
I think I'm right in saying, Simon, that there's only Joe Dumars out there who's actually, as a player, who's actually won an NBA championship. No one here in this American team from the Knicks or the Houston Rockets, who represented their respective clubs in the NBA Finals this year.
Oh, pity. What a pity.
That was a beautiful fast break, wasn't it? But not quite finished off with a dunk by Dan Marley.
Heel. Not that time. And the USA, I think, now beginning to show one or two fancy moves as the result becomes more and more inevitable. But the Australians have done well to keep it close for the majority of the first half. It's Dumars. And they're beginning to run away with it now. Three more for Miller. And the lead all of a sudden, almost imperceptibly, has swooped away to 26. Gaze. And you can see the pressure at both ends of the court.
That's a great matchup out there. Joe Dumars against Andrew Gaze. On the ball now. And Gaze forced to shoot from way downtown.
And a super rebound from Mourning. Johnson coming in there. Dumars. Wonderful move. From rebound to basket.
That's what playing over 80 regular season games, plus finals, plus all the training that they do, gives to you. Joe Dumars, a little man, relatively speaking anyway, but so strong. Strong enough to get the 2 and a bonus, even though he was fouled pretty heavily.
Top scorer, of course, for the Pistons last year.
Australians have to be wary of being routed now, really. It's almost 30 points. And remember, it was level at 29 apiece.
Yes, it would really nullify all that they did in the first half if they go down by 30 or more, because it looked so hopeful at the start. Oh! So Brandke again imposing his presence.
The height he got on that rebound then.
Yeah, he's a big man and a wonderful athlete. And Johnson holding him off. Now it's against Mourning, off the ball.
His third team foul.
What a rebound there from Brandke. He must have been 10 inches above the ring when he took that ball, and two-handed, no mistake.
So Phil Smythe. And it's amazing that in the second half, when the match is actually more of a foregone conclusion, the Americans have started to pick it up. It's almost as if they're ashamed of their performance in the first half. So Gay sitting down for once.
It's almost a war of attrition with them as well. They've got 12 top quality players out there. There isn't really a bench. Coach Don Nelson can just go along and point to any 5 players and say, go out there and do a job. That is the difference. As well as just sheer individual quality, they have so many players who can do the job. Whereas lesser nations like Australia probably don't go down the bench past 6 or 7.
Case in point, Mourning sits down, and in comes Derrick Coleman. Don't quite have the charisma of Dream Team 1, obviously. They don't have the Jordans and the Ewings. But there's a sense of real identity about them and focus on these championships. And they've certainly been a massive draw here.
I think the one department where they do actually exceed the Dream Team 1 salary, Simon, is probably in the salary department. Mind you, we are 2 years on from Barcelona.
Yeah. Good interception by Majerle. And there's another 3. Reggie Miller now way out ahead as top point scorer. And the key difference is 30 now. And nothing going for Australia. This is a bad patch for them. And the Americans beginning to turn the screw. Majerle. It's just about where, if this was a boxing match, the referee would be looking to step in.
These guys have got the perfect all-round game. They haven't got Shaquille O'Neal or Shawn Kemp in there to play an inside game, so they're just killing Australia from the outside now. They can do it any way they want.
And it shows the superiority that they have, that this has been a pretty even game and a fairly shoddy performance by them in the middle of the first half, and yet they've got themselves together, and now they are moving relentlessly in front. There's that last 3-pointer from Dan Majerle. 89-56 then. 11:51 to go.
Which is another world record, breaking the previous overall mark set in Manila. Congratulations.
So Miller. Traveling on Australia ball.
Well, perhaps the referee interpreted travelling then the way he will have to from September the 1st. The front foot, or rather the first foot to land, is deemed to be the pivot foot. And what it means is referees all over the world are going to be a lot tighter on walking.
Again, that's very much an interpretation thing, isn't it?
Very much. To me, there's no change. And I've asked several administrators what the difference is between the new rule and the old rule, and everyone seems to shake their heads.
At least everybody knows now, so there shouldn't be too much confusion, he says. Coleman into Reggie Miller.
Saying that though, Simon, I bet the hottest call in the first month of the new season will be travelling. There'll be hundreds of travelling calls.
1 or 2 maybe over-eager referees. It happens.
Yeah, somewhere in the dim and distant past of the travelling rule, it was deemed to be travelling when you moved 2 paces down the sideline to inbound a pass, but I haven't seen that called for 2 or 3 years now. And yet when it was first introduced, it was called all the time.
Reggie Miller's last basket. And they're back on offense again. Coleman, Majerle. No one inside. It's almost like they don't think anything's going to miss. But the impetus has gone out of the Australian team now. Gay's sitting down. It looks like they're resting him for obviously key future matches against Puerto Rico and Russia.
Yeah, they should be a lot closer. All the pool games except ones involving the USA now, should provide a lot of crowd interest. And the crowds have been pretty good in this tournament so far. Remember, these two stadiums that have been used so far hold 17,000, and the Sky Dome actually holds 30,000. So a lot of good basketball ahead in this second phase for the fans.
Sky Dome, of course, the venue for the final, and you can see that live here on Eurosport on Sunday. That's a little bit lucky, but they took it well. Dan Marley finishing it off. Price getting quite a lot of his body onto the interception. Well, this could be a long end to the match unless Australia get to grips with this. Brádky allowed almost route one there. So the lead up to 38, 3 more for Miller.
Yeah, the hardest job in the whole stadium now goes to Barry Barnes. What do you do when your team trail by between 30 and 40 points with a long time to go? Well, basically, you've got to set yourself targets, and I reckon the best target to set yourself is a defensive one. Let's stop these guys scoring, say, for instance, 120. They're on 96 with a long time to go. Let's play some real defense, because that's what the Australians are not doing at the moment. That's where they can learn.
Here's the man, Reggie Miller. For me, early on, it was Johnson who was the pick, but Miller has been devastating through the end of the first half and for much of the second.
I remember, Simon, we've not seen an awful lot of the other Johnson, Larry Johnson. Not seen too much of Shaquille O'Neal either, so what options Coach Nelson has got up in his pocket.
So Miller to 31 points now, and the lead is 40. And that seems scarcely credible after the opening 10 minutes when it was 28 all, I think.
And it doesn't seem very long ago, Simon, that on Eurosport I was talking about the record Dream Team margin. That was 68 when Dream Team 1 beat Angola. So it's 40 at the moment, and I suppose it's a possibility of getting to 68, possibly 70. There's a 3, so now it's 43.
3 more for Price. Yes, their biggest margin so far in this tournament is their 55-point win over China, which I guess was by far and away their most impressive performance, bearing in mind what China went on to achieve.
Yeah, just to remind the viewers that China are in this second phase. They beat Spain 78-76. And when you look back to some of the coaches' comments from that pool, the Brazilian coach Vecchi was adamant that the game against Spain and China were what he was aiming for, and Brazil lost in overtime to China. So a great performance from the Asian champions in this tournament.
Gaze back on. Nice move there from Michael Mackay. New on, number 5 from Adelaide.
Foul number 9, and Marley is third.
Oof, that was tough.
Well,
I have taking, I think it was Mark Price's head off nearly.
I think some expensive dentistry may be the order of the day there for Mark Price.
So Gaze to the line, and is he going to miss? Nope. But the lead is 41. Price doesn't seem to be unduly affected by what happened, or maybe I spoke too soon, but that elbow in the face will do nothing for your vision. He looks pretty unconcerned.
Oh, I think he may have a slight fat lip there, actually, Simon. He's just chewing, but...
Here's the final move. USA leading at the moment then, 41. Basketball Championships. This match from the Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. 17,000 people enjoying the Dream Team 2. USA beginning to live up to expectations. They've taken a 41-point lead over Australia. This is the opening match of these two teams in the second phase. Just to recap for those of you who just joined us, through to the second phase in the basically the quarter-final league of 2 groups of 4. In one group, USA, Australia, Russia and Puerto Rico, and in the other group, Croatia, Greece, China and Canada. Top 2 from each group go through to the semi-finals, crossover semi-finals. Rory Borner getting the 2 there. Price, rebound from Ronaldson. Ronaldson does well. They've kept their heads up. Their play may be beginning to disintegrate. I think they're getting awfully tired at this stage. But Ronaldson immediately countered by 3 more from Mark Price.
And of course the Australians came to this tournament renowned for their defense, and well, at the moment it's just like well, it's a shootout. The Americans can shoot threes at their will. No one's getting anywhere near them.
We're in the bonus situation in effect.
I just wonder whether Coach Don Nelson, if he can remember as far back to his college days, if he's tempted to throw a zone in there just as an experiment. No need, of course, because the American man-to-man is so good, but just as a way of keeping the players interested when they're winning by 40 or 50 points or so. But, I just wonder whether a zone is actually in their luggage somewhere.
Good hustle back from Price after initially losing the ball.
Australia substitution, number 9, Greg Hubbard.
Australia qualified for all these World Championships as champions of the Oceania group. They beat New Zealand fairly comfortably and Western Samoa in a canter. Nice move in, but Ronaldson just couldn't control it.
Yeah, what you were saying about Western Samoa and New Zealand, Simon, really does sum up the problems for Australia. They're so far away from the rest of the world in terms of basketball, in terms of geography as well, but they just don't get the opposition going down under, so they have to come and find the opposition.
Powerful basket there by Dominique Wilkins.
Well, Wilkins was totally lost in on defense. He got lost on a pick and couldn't find his man to save his life. And here he is, tripping over himself.
And for once, Gaze misses out. Price, smart move. And that's 2 points for Dominique Wilkins and the bonus. And they love that on the bench, not surprising. Wonderful athlete and such a strong man.
Even at 34 years old, Dominique Wilkins, look at this. Great example of drawing the foul, protecting the ball, strong enough to get 2 in a bonus. And remember, that's a team foul as well. So super move there from 34-year-old Dominique Wilkins.
9-time NBA All-Star. Amazing record now with the Boston. Traded from Atlanta for Danny Manning.
Actually, there was a little bit in the middle there, Simon. He traded from Atlanta to LA Clippers. Had a dreadful, very unhappy season there. So quite a smart transfer move from the Celtics there.
Andrew Gaze, 1 plus the bonus.
So here comes Gaze to his favorite place. "20 points in the game." Sat out a fair amount of his second half once the game went beyond reach. So the lead 42, 5 minutes left.
Andrew Gaze, the man who was just on the foul line, actually spent 20 days training with the Washington Bullets this season, and well, if you get a team in a penalty situation, then put Andrew Gaze in there, then there's one man that the opposition certainly can't afford to foul, because he doesn't miss in the foul line, does he?
Certainly doesn't. And he's kept his concentration right the way through this match. Of course, it's one that they've been looking forward to, the Australians. They wouldn't have gone in with any exaggerated hopes of winning, but it would have been a wonderful experience for them. But the big stuff, the key matches coming up. Steve Smith fouled out then, but it's hardly crucial. And his reaction shows it.
I think the only crucial thing there, Simon, is it's a bit of damage to his pride, because he's hardly figured in this Dream Team 2 effort. And then when he gets the chance, what does he do? He goes and fouls out.
And Gaze again. Oh, wow. Well, that's the first one of the match he's missed, and we reckon only the second of the tournament.
How many times does that happen, though, Simon? Commentators start talking about how good someone is on the foul line, and what does he do? Next shot.
No basket, but didn't that look good? Greg Hubbard new on, number 9, 27-year-old guard from Sydney. And the crowd screaming for Nelson to bring on Shaquille.
I saw Shaquille O'Neal leave the arena partway through the Brazilian game. I just wonder whether he's got a niggling injury there. He's played a few minutes in the first half, but you never know. That's hot property, and the insurance man's nightmare, I would think. So perhaps Don Nelson just making 100% certain that Shaquille O'Neal is fully recovered.
Nice move in. Price to Shawn Kemp, drawing the foul. So it's Kemp to the line. Kemp, of course, from Seattle.
Took the very unusual route into the NBA. Never went to college, Shawn Kemp.
And that is very rare indeed.
Extremely. And drafted number 17 back in 1989. And has he made his mark in the NBA recently, or what? Great season for the Seattle Supersonics. Regular season anyway.
4 minutes left then. USA by 40. And here's Vlahev. Good power, but beautifully read by Kemp. That's one time we did praise him, and he came good. And look at the end there. Wonderful stuff from Shawn Kemp.
The interception and the hustle down court from Shawn Kemp. He stole the ball, he ran the break, and he finished it off as well. What super athleticism and super vision as well. Great pass on Mark Price, but Shawn Kemp, he was going to score it, and he dunked it in the end.
And good to see the intensity under the basket for the Australians, despite the fact they've been given a real grilling here. Marley. And 3 more. And Price has had a very good second half. So too of the USA. Big rebound from Derrick Coleman.
Number 14, is fifth. In the bonus.
And there's that wonderful finish to a super move from Shawn Kemp. So the lead, 45, under 3 minutes left. Coleman at the line. And a fairly relaxed looking bench. Again, tremendous consistency from Coleman. And it's up to 47. And the Australians have been just overpowered and outclassed in this second half. Paul Rees. Here's the newcomer Hubbard looking for something on. And a good try for the little alley-oop inside. But Kay's not quite able to get to it.
Good study of what to do in not exactly a crisis there for Barry Barnes, but I would imagine he's talking this through and trying to glean some kind of consolation from it. What do we do from this experience? Well, the answer is that we regroup, and remember, we're still after a medal. We being Australia, that is.
Dominique Wilkins at the line, shooting 2.
Wilkins looking better and better in the second half.
I saw him at Wembley when the Atlanta Hawks came over and played the Orlando Magic about 6 months ago, and he looked a class apart. And remember, he had Shaquille O'Neal on the opposition, and Dominique, even at 34 then, looked a real class athlete. Had a bad season since then, but great memories from those people who went to Wembley to see a real pro.
And the crowd respecting now what's happened in this second half. USA picking their game up and putting in a thoroughly good performance in the second half. Shawn Kemp again. And he's done the majority of the showboating in this second half.
How to run a fast break.
Lead 51. And it's scarcely credible the way they started. Kemp. Wilkins finishes it off.
They just keep coming at you. The Australians don't know which way to look now. And again, the defensive rebound. And again, the fast break.
Well, it would have been magical if it had come off.
Oh.
But he gets it the second time. And this is great fun. But what an outrageous pass back to him it was from Price.
Well, the Australians have nowhere to hide now.
No, they've gone mentally and physically. And hardly surprising. And like a bulldozer beating down on them. And the foul there. Roundly booed from Tony Ronaldson. And the crowd, who I think were a little iffy about the Americans at the start here, are now firmly behind them.
Well, I think the crowd were actually taken by surprise at the effort that the Australians had put into it. Remember, they went 17-10 up, and the crowd were definitely on the Australian side then. But since the Americans stepped up at least 3 gears, well, there's no doubting who the crowd are baying for now.
Wilkins at the line, and of course they love their basketball here in Canada. And the Canadians doing well to qualify for the second phase. They've got a tough time though with Croatia, Greece and China. It's going to be very difficult for them to make the semis. So running down now, and there you can see how the USA have completely destroyed them. A 44-point margin, 42-point margin in this second half alone. And it's going to get bigger. Oh! Wilkins again.
I think the word annihilation comes to mind here, Simon.
Yeah.
And once again, all credit to the referees. We haven't noticed them. They've not put a foot wrong in this game at all. And the crowd have been richly entertained. And in a 50-point drubbing, that is some task to actually not get noticed, the referees.
And the power and the athleticism bringing that kind of response from Mourning and the rest there on the bench. And Gaze plugs relentlessly on. But it must be difficult to maintain concentration.
Well, if there's one real professional in the Australian team, then it has to be that Andrew Gaze.
Well, that really would have been something if it had come off, but it would have been, I think, more by luck than judgment. So the USA starting the second phase as promisingly as they started the first. And the gold medal looks ever more likely to come their way. And Australia, well, their competitive matches in this second phase still to come. And in many ways, this will have been two ways of looking at it. It might in some ways be a bit of a humiliation, but on the other hand, it's never going to be as tough as this, and they'll really be sharpened up.
Yeah, I agree entirely, Simon. I think he's got his bench on there at the moment, with the exception of Andrew Gaze, and they've got some key games against Russia and Puerto Rico to come. And Australia can beat both those teams on a good night. Russia will be tough. Not that the Puerto Ricans will be easy, but two key games there for the Boomers.
Paul Rees for the two, but that's the end. And the USA are comfortably through.